Veterans has just ended a 10-day pilgrimage to their old battlegrounds, a visit that was the first of its kind since New Zealand withdrew from Indochina in 1972. The tour, touted as a mission of goodwill by its organiser, was condemned as ghoulish by the Veterans' own association president. Those taking part say it was anything but.
Apart from the unearthed scrap, about all that's left to show for New Zealand's war in Vietnam are the memories. Tumbled-down gates signpost what was the enormous Anzac base in Nui Dat. The runway too is largely intact but unused. Even the old R&R club at Vung Tau is little more than a slimy swimming pool. And what was the base there is now a garish centre for tourism. Some 3,500 New Zealand artillery and infantry men served in this land. Of them, 5 chose to return to the old battlefields, this time as tourists. The tour including the sites where 161 Battery pasted the Nui Din ranges, though, as we were to discover, with little effect. This man, a Viet Cong commander at the time, told us his men survived the shelling. They were safely dug in underground. For a country desperately in need of foreign currency, war-oriented tourism is now being encouraged, despite the fact that it tears at the scars of a time Vietnam would rather put behind it. More than 1 million Vietnamese died in the war against America and her allies. 37 New Zealanders were also killed here, and it was for them that the returning vets stood to remember at Nui Dat.
Thou shalt not grow old as we who live to grow old. Age shall not weary thee, for the years condemned. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. We will remember them.
There's never been a less popular war for New Zealand. While its young servicemen scoured the hills and paddy fields of Phouc Tuy and Bin Hoa, unprecedented protest was building at home. But 17 years on, some of the men who served here have no regrets about what they fought for.
It appears that certainly our intentions were the right ones. I'm sure that to the great majority of Vietnamese it doesn't really make a lot of difference who is in control.
Personally, I really think the West made a stand in Vietnam, and I really think it was worthwhile.
For some, there's also bitterness that those so prominent in the protest movement have done so little since for the Vietnamese.
We come back bearing gifts and donations of medicines and bandages and what have you, and yet we've seen nothing from these ex-members of the PYM. Tim Shadbolt jumps to mind. Those people that got some political advantage through running down the war at the time, just what have they done?
Cameron Bennett in Vietnam for the Network News.